Welcome to the London Outlook for Thursday, the 22nd of February 2024. Starting off with the economic calendar, we have a bunch of red folder news events, the first of which is at 11:30 for the British pound, and then we have some USD news which we'll touch upon in the New York session. I think what's important to note is that while these are red folder news events, they're not so significant that we cannot trade before, during, or after. Um, Essentially, what I'm trying to say is they're not CPI, NFP, or interest rate news, and thus we can have positions triggered by these news events. Having said all of that, let's jump into the charts and then navigate this. I think just before we do that, a key thing to note is dependent on the news release and what the results are, we'll manage our positions accordingly. And what that essentially means is that if we're longing GBP and news is negative, obviously we want to close those positions because there's evidence to suggest that GBPUSD will go to the downside. Moving on to the charts, from a 4H perspective, we still have that confirmed bearish trend, and in terms of a 4H order flow perspective, what we said yesterday is recently that demand took control because supply right here had failed, and then demand held right here and created this break of structure, in which case it validated that this unconfirmed lower high swing point, which was intended to actually be the new swing lower high, actually is failing and is likely targeted because it's weak, and that's confirmed by the 4H demand order flow. Because of that, there's reasons to trade both directions in an unconfirmed scenario, because there's reasons to trade short, and that reason is because of the protein primary leg, or the objective to target this, and then obviously there's reasons to trade long. What we recently reacted to was a window of imbalance, which is dictated by this line right here, which I'll zoom into shortly, and the objective of that is to ultimately target this. However, because we're in an unconfirmed scenario, we'll target the substructure and wait for new 4H backing before we ultimately target this unconfirmed lower high. In terms of the window of imbalance that I marked out and was talking about, that exists between this area and this area right here, essentially creating a large area of imbalance on both sides of price action. Having said all of that, because we're in an unconfirmed scenario, there's reasons to trade both directions. However, because it's unconfirmed, if you recall to the price action in and around this area, what I said was in order to trade any direction, we need 4H OB backing. We also need a validated substructure, in that there's a pullback which validates it, and then on the trading time frame we need internal range liquidity towards those substructure targets. Given those requirements, they are met for both shorting and longing, and perhaps we can dig into them in a bit more detail from a 5-minute perspective. So from a 5-minute perspective, yesterday we reached deeper into this pro-trend primary extreme, creating this red leg you're seeing right here, and then obviously we reached this window of imbalance area. Whilst we have wicked it, we haven't body broken it on the 4H, and this poses a significant barrier, which means that in order to trade any further shorts, we need to validate the IRL to the downside, being this IRL right here, and the way we do that is by validating the current high of the day with a session or news, and then we can say that this IRL is ready to be targeted. Until that point, we only have reasons to long, and from a long perspective, we reached this 4H OB and then validated it as a result of reaching it, and then obviously you can see order flow has shifted to the upside, meaning all of this IRL is likely targeted. In terms of trading for today, the current day actually extended the leg, so previous day trading is not valid based on a previous high low of the day fib extension and anticipating where the low of the day may be, so that's invalid. And then from a trading perspective, in order to validate trading longs or shorts, we need Frankfurt to validate that the Asia low will hold or the Asia high will hold. Obviously, if Frankfurt doesn't do that, then London's the next obvious option. And having said that, London also has some red folder news. So a London low of the day or high of the day can be validated by this London PMI news. Obviously, both of them will need to be either green or red to then validate itself. So, having said all of that, that's pretty much the London outlook. Just to summarize, there's reasons to trade both directions, and we're essentially waiting for Frankfurt or London to validate one or another high of the day of this session. Once we have that validation, we can long or short. If both are validated, we can trade both directions as well, because there is IRL to target. In terms of when we'll stop trading longs or short, we'll stop trading longs once we reach the substructure target right here, and we'll stop trading shorts once we reach the substructure target right there. Other than that, that's pretty much the London outlook, and we'll chat again for the New York outlook.